Justin Fields' life just got even harder before the season even began. According to multiple reports, right guard Alijah Vera-Tucker tore his tricep. Now, he will seek a second opinion, but he could need surgery. So another blow for the Jets organization that is trying to get back to prominence and respectability. With that, we bring in CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan. And Tyler, this young man is really a versatile talent in the trenches, but he's missed nearly 50% of his games since 2022. How significant of a blow is this for Justin Fields and that offense?
Well, it's certainly a blow. Obviously, when Alijah Vera-Tucker is healthy, he is one of the better interior linemen in the NFL. You just look at Pro Football Focus, for example, ranked 15th in the NFL among guards last season. So this is a significant blow, especially to an offense where they're really going to lean on their quarterback in Justin Fields to try to keep this offense at a respectable pace. But it is a fatal blow. I don't know if I go that far, and it's really because of the two bookend tackles that they acquired in the first round at the NFL draft over the last couple of years. Olu Fashanu in 2024. You have Armand Membu in 2025. If those two are able to hold up, that changes the dynamic here. It makes life a little bit easier for this offensive line to absorb the loss of someone like Alijah Vera-Tucker. I don't want to make light of his impact, but they have played without him before. This organization has, with actually the very same injury in terms of tricep injury in 2022. So I kind of am a little bit still optimistic about this team overall. I still think that the New York Jets could surprise some people. Obviously, you want to have your offensive line, arguably one of the biggest strengths of your offense, going on all cylinders. But overall, I still think that this offense should be okay.
All right, so you still clearly have some optimism. And Jets fans are hoping that the optimism stays with the new head coach, Aaron Glenn. And he is one of many new head coaches coming in to this 2025 season. So you got Ben Johnson taking on the Vikings. Aaron Glenn, of course, facing the Steelers. Pete Carroll with the Raiders going up against the Patriots. And remember last year, Gerard Mayo, he and the Patriots beat the Cincinnati Bengals in an upset. So when you think about all the guys that are making their head coaching debuts for their respective teams, who is poised to get an upset here, Tyler?
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Gerard Mayo, because before we get into it, we should throw the caveat out there. Yes, you can win in week one, but you can also still lose your job. Gerard Mayo is not coaching in the NFL. You saw Mike Vrabel there with the New England Patriots. So clearly things went downhill for the New England Patriots. So build that momentum after week one. And the guy that I think that could come out of week one a winner in terms of a first-time head coach, we were just talking about him, Aaron Glenn in the New York Jets. I like them. I know the Alijah Vera-Tucker injury is still something that they'll have to deal with, but I kind of like them in this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're a live home dog. I look at that team, and I still think they should be able to protect Justin Fields, but more importantly, I look at this defense. It was one of the best in the NFL in certain respects. It's one of the more talented young groups in the NFL, and I think that they're going to come into this game with a little chip on their shoulder going up against their former quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and I have my questions about Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers that we're accustomed to seeing maybe at the tail end of last season. You remember, he signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers at minicamp. He hasn't played in a preseason game. I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of rust from that Pittsburgh offense. The New York Jets defense pounces, and the offense for the New York Jets plays a very conservative ground approach with Justin Fields that helps them pull off the upset. So I like Aaron Glenn, and quickly, I also like Liam Cohen to get the win with the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Carolina Panthers.
Duval. Okay, all right. I like it. I like it, man. Now, staying in the AFC East, some good injury news for Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots. Stefon Diggs says he's going to be ready to go for their opener Sunday against the Raiders. Now, remember, Diggs is coming off a torn ACL last October with the Texans, but star cornerback Christian Gonzalez, meanwhile, he hasn't practiced this week, still rehabbing a hamstring injury he suffered the first day of training camp. And Tyler, you've been in Foxborough, so this summer, what's the level of confidence in both players heading into week one?
Well, I think if we start with Stefon Diggs, I think the confidence level should be moderately high. Again, this is someone who tore their ACL in the middle of last season, and all of a sudden looks like he's going to be a full go, or at least something close to it, come week one. When the Patriots first signed him, there was a question of when they would get Stefon Diggs back. Would he be a PUP candidate? Watching him over the summer, the Patriots were very cautious with how they used him. There were certain drills at the beginning of training camp that I can remember that they held him out of. There were certain team aspects that they held him out of, and then there were certain one-on-ones where they put him in. So they've kind of slow played this and gradually brought him along to get him to this point, to the fact that now we're talking about whether or not he's a pitch count or not in week one. He said today, hell no, I hope not. I hope I'm not in the pitch count. So it seems like things are going in a very positive direction. And if he is even 75% or even 65% of the Stefon Diggs of old, it's the most talented receiver this team has had since Julian Edelman. So it really could help Drake May develop in year two. And then switching things to Christian Gonzalez, it's the other side of the coin. It's a very different situation with him in terms of a confidence level. I do not believe he will be on the field in week one. Did not practice on Wednesday. Mike Vrabel kind of seeming like, if you read between the lines, doesn't feel like he will play in this game. And you talk about those soft tissue injuries, they always can kind of creep up on you. So we haven't seen him at practice in terms of being a full participant since that first day of pads in training camp. He was actually covering Stefon Diggs, irony enough, when he came up limp on that hamstring. So there's a lot of questions here. That's one of the things with this New England Patriots team in 2025. They really made some strides to add talent to this roster. Carlton Davis is one of them in free agency. That corner pairing was supposed to be a strength of this team, but without Christian Gonzalez, you're a little thin in that secondary, so something to keep an eye on there for the New England Patriots.
All right, very well said. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about whether the league will expand the season to 18 games in the last few years, and NFLPA interim executive director David White isn't ruling that out, saying, quote, the league has the right to bring any issue they want to the table and presumably to propose what they're willing to give to receive what they want in negotiation, but we'll see when that happens. We haven't talked about it yet, and it certainly is not inevitable and should not be presented as such. Now, Tyler, do you think realistically a lockout could come if the players take a hard stand against expanding the regular season to 18 games?
You know, we talk about not inevitable. What is inevitable is if the players do not agree to go to 18 games, there will be a lockout. That's just how this is tracking. I think, Chris, you and I both know this. If the NFL owners want something, more often than not, they get their way. And I think they've been eyeing 18 games for a long time. I think they were eyeing 18 games when they moved to 17 games. This is, I don't know if it's necessarily their end goal, but it's certainly a goal along the way of where they ultimately want to be in terms of their regular season schedule. The question will be for me in terms of whether or not there's a lockout or not is what are NFL owners willing to give back to the players? Obviously, there's going to be a monetary situation that they'll have to try to hammer out, but I'm curious more about what does it mean for the regular season? Are there now going to be 2 buys? What does this mean for the preseason? Are we going to limit games? What does this mean for the offseason program? Are players afforded less time at the facilities? Is mandatory minicamp not so mandatory anymore? These are the things that I'm interested in terms of the NFL calendar. Yes, I think at some point and possibly sometime soon they will get to 18 games, but what does that mean everywhere else on the NFL calendar? Like I said, multiple buys. What does it mean for the offseason program? Those things I think are what players are going to look at and say, listen, we'll go to 18, but what are you going to do for us?
Right. It's like, we're not just going to give it to you for free. Okay, we have to get something in return. Tyler Sullivan, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much, man. And remember, week 1 kicks off right here on CBS. Steelers at the Jets. Got a whole bunch of games: Dolphins, Colts, Raiders, Patriots, Cardinals, Saints. And then the Lions on the road against the Packers, and Texans and Rams at 4:25 Eastern. All goes down on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.